Hello and welcome back to the Tin Barn. I'm Pragmatic Lee, and in today's video we got one more little project we need to do on my trailer, the Big Tex trailer that you saw me add the Gorilla Lift lift assist on a couple weeks ago. Here's a quick reminder shot of that lift assist on the tailgate. Got it adjusted now. It works extremely well. If you recall in that video as well, I machined a couple sleeves to put where the cable attaches to the tailgate itself. Made a couple sleeves just to keep that cable in line. I've got one of those sleeves off now. Actually, this is going to be on the driver's side. And we're going to machine an adapter to fit this to this. We're going to make a handle. Now, Gorilla Lift actually sells a handle. Here's a quick image of that. No, I don't know the model. This is just an image that I got off the web. But Gorilla Lift sells those lift handles. They retail for $70, $69.95. And I believe we can make one a little bit cheaper here in the shop. I almost feel a little bit guilty about doing that, as good as Gorilla Lift was in getting my order straightened out from the retailer I bought it from. But I've got some stock here, and I want to see if we can make a handle. This piece, you say, well, where did you find such a nice curved piece of aluminum handle? Well, I bet you if you guys look around in your garage or maybe in your attic to your barn or wherever, you probably got an old lawn chair sitting around somewhere. That's what this came off of. And the webbing on that old lawn chair was scrap, it was rotten. But I took it off, and of course there were these holes across here where the webbing was attached to it. A couple days ago I just took some JB Weld and filled up those holes and then sanded them back down to clear. But what we want to do today, let me bring the camera in a little bit closer and I'll show you the pieces involved with it. And guys, stick with me. This is not just about the trailer or about a handle that you'll probably never need. There'll be a little machining in this too. And I think I've come up with an idea to make these pieces all work together. All right, here's the pieces we're going to be working with today. Again, this is off the old lawn chair, lounge chair. Cut off a nice 90-degree, and I believe I've got probably an 18-inch, 24-inch length on that. Nothing in particular, just really what looked like it would work on the trailer. 18 inches to here, about 21 to the top of the handle. This is the sleeve that was on the tailgate itself. What we want to do is machine the end of this, machine a radius in it that will fit over that. Now, you've seen me do that in a couple previous videos. As a matter of fact, the video on the trailer itself, I did show a quick little clip at the end of machining a semicircle in, and I've actually got a video itself entitled machining a semicircle. We're going to do that same thing on this. I've got the boring head already set up to this radius, and remember, we want to turn this to the radius of that. So we're going to put this in the mill in a minute, and that boring head, bore this end out until that matches up. Now, this is 1-inch material, this is 1-inch material. We'll turn down a section of this, maybe 1.5 inches long or something, where it will slide in the end of a handle. Then we'll use a spring pin to attach them together. Also down here at this end, we're going to want to make a cap to cap off this hole. So let's turn to the mill now and turn our radius in the end of that to fit this sleeve. Okay, I got our 1-inch piece mounted in the mill vise now, and we're going to locate the center. So we just touch off until it kicks to the side. Zero out the y-axis now. We'll move to the other side of our workpiece and just touch until it kicks off again. And DRO will do y 1/2. Bring the DRO back to 0, of course. And we can actually lock our table down on the y-axis right there. This sleeve we're going to be matching to is 1.25 inches. And off camera, I took this scrap piece and just set the boring head until it was 1.25 inches, matched this piece. I left that alone just like that, took it out and put it away. So what we're going to do now is just come in close. We've got it centered on the Y. I'm not sure how much we're going to move in right here. We're going to go enough that we leave just a minor, very small flat on these sides here to where this will fit up in there. All right, so let's just touch off now. And I may set the DRO just to get an idea. All right, it's just touching there. I'm going to zero out the y-axis just to see just how much this does go in. That's 0. We'll go about 100 thousandths at the time. All right, now I'm just going to use the micrometer and take a look at that to be sure we are in center, and we are. And again, that's still more flat than I want out here on this side, so I'm going to come in another 100 thousandths and come down again. And that's just maybe a 50 thousandths flat, 25 thousandths flat on each side. And that is a perfect fit. All right, I'm going to take this piece, show you all a little closer. I'm going to carry this piece over to the Scotch-Brite wheel, clean these burrs off, and then meet you back over at the lathe. All right, now that we've got our concave semicircle milled into this piece, let's turn our attention to the other end for just a moment. Our handle, as I said before, we want to make a plug for the handle side here. This is 1 inch outside diameter, and bandsaw and years of use and whatever, this doesn't appear to be perfectly round once I sawed it off. So to get that inside dimension, I just measured the thickness of this material, which was 0.04, 40 thousandths. Double that to 80 thousandths, subtract that off an inch. That says we should leave 920 thousandths to slide up in there. And I'm not going to come in any particular amount, just, I don't know, something, we'll give like an inch for it to go up into the handle. All right, I'm going to take about 40 thousandths off to start with, and then we'll measure it. So we need 34 more thousandths. Put just a little chamfer on that end, then we'll do a test fit. And we're going to pin this once it goes in there. That's a good snug fit. So I think we're good with that. I need to break this edge just a tiny bit over here. Don't really want to put a chamfer on that. Tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to take the file, real fine file. Okay, I'm going to pull this out just a little bit, and then we're going to part that off. About 200 thousandths ought to be fine there. Alright, before that completely parts off, I want to chamfer what will be that outside edge there. Yeah, that's warm. Now let's put that piece back in there and clean that little tit up off the end. All right, I'm going to cool this piece off and be right back, show you what it looks like. All right, here's the piece we just made, which is simply going to be a plug for this handle in. I think that turned out looking rather good. Again, this will probably get a little bit of thread lock in there, but it also will get a spring pin through the side. Turn our attention back again to the end that we milled our semicircle into. I'm going to want about a ½ inch left sticking out of this, and then about 1.5 inches to go up in the piece. So I'm going to part this off. This mark is about 2 inches from the bottom of this. I'm going to part that off. This does not have to be an exact length at all. Alright, that little piece can go back in the material bin. While I have this chucked up pretty tight, I'm going to go ahead and put a center in that. Tell you what, let's knock off that little tit that's left right there. Well, I keep forgetting to tighten stuff down in my chucks. Now we can bring this out and only leave about a ½ inch up in the chuck. That's why I wanted that center in here. Alright, that should hold that in there pretty good now. And just like the little plug we made for the handle in, we want this to 920 thousandths. It says another 52, so I'm going to go 40 and then measure that again. Alright, that says another 12 thousandths. Alright, now we have this piece turned down to where it will go up in our handle. This will hang out. All we have to do now is attach this piece to that piece. The way I'm going to do that, I'm going to put this in here, drill all the way through it with a 1/4 inch, and then I'm going to counterbore into it, probably with an end mill, so that a socket head cap screw will go up in there. Then we'll drop that socket head cap screw down through here. We'll drill and tap this, mount that in with, I know, some thread lock. Let that set for a couple hours. Then we'll put all the pieces together. Alright, we're going to line our piece back up again. We're going to put it back in the chuck. I really didn't even need to take it out right then, but I did. Snug it down pretty good. And should be able, since we got the center in there, it should line up pretty good. Alright, so let's drill this 1/4 inch hole all the way through it. Okay, I was just taking it kind of easy with that drill. Not holding on a lot of area up here, about a 1/2 inch. As I said, what we're going to be using is a socket head cap screw, 1/4 20 by, I think that's probably a 3/4. Now our threads can't stick out, can't go in this sleeve to the point that they would interfere with this bolt that goes through here. So while I had this out, I measured the distance from where the head should stop to this end here, and actually marked it on my end mill. This has got a label on there. This is a Dual 3/8 inch, and it just turns out that I need to stop right at the dash between do and all. And the reason I'm using an end mill here versus a drill bit, this will leave me a flat bottom for this head to set on. Yeah, she's warm. No, it's hot. Alright, here's our 1/4 20 socket head cap screw. I've cleaned all the swarf out from in there and deburred this end. As you can see, that shoulder's out there and has hopefully just the right amount of threads sticking out to go into the sleeve. So let's go over to the mill now, set up, and drill and tap this to match that 1/4 20. I've got the sleeve mounted in the mill vise now, and off camera I located the center on the Y and the X axis. So we should be centered up both directions on our workpiece now, on our sleeve. Alright, we'll go down into low gear. Alright, let's turn back to the workbench and get this piece mounted with the adapter we just made over on the lathe. Okay, I know you guys never do this, but I'll admit, I just spent 15 minutes trying to find this piece. We just made it over there on the lathe. I turned to the mill to drill and tap this, which cleaning out a little bit of that cutting oil there with some acetone. But I come back over here to the workbench to get set up to put these two pieces together, and I could not find this. I looked all over the workbench over here. I went back to the lathe. I looked on the mill. I stopped what I was doing, put some tools away, just so when I look back at the workbench, I'd have a clearer mind maybe. And I literally walked around here 15 minutes before I realized that the last thing I did was a test fit into the handle and had laid it all over to the side. So back to our regular scheduled program. All right, I'm going to put a little thread lock in there. Going to drop our socket head cap screw and go ahead and get the wrench on it. And of course this is going to index itself with the semicircle that we milled in. Alright guys, that'll be just a couple of seconds for you, but I'm going to let this set. I'm going to let this Permatex thread lock set for probably a couple of hours. Then we'll come back and we'll put this piece, our plug for the handle in, and our handle itself. We'll put them all together and get it ready to mount on the trailer. Okay, it's been a couple hours now since I put the Loctite on, and I forgot to turn the microphone back on, so I've going to do a little voice over here. I put the Loctite, of course, on the threads. Then I also put Loctite but on the piece that we turned on the lathe that slides up in. So that's that time to set. I did it also on the cap on that end. And we're going to set it up in the mill vise now and drill this for some spring pins. We'll be using 3/16 by 1 inch long spring pins. That black mark at the end is about halfway the length of the part that we turned to slide up in the handle. Okay, now we'll turn it and put the other in. The indexing on these through pins, of course that drill left a pretty nasty burr on the back side. We'll clean up in a minute. But the indexing on these pins doesn't matter. And the black mark on this end is about a 1/2 inch in, considering that we turned about a 1 inch long piece. Okay, I'm going to take this handle over to the Scotch-Brite wheel, clean those burrs off again, and then we'll go back to the workbench to install the pins. Okay, let's take our little bench anvil, and if you ever wonder what size hole to drill for a 3/16 spring pin or 1/8 spring pin or a 1/4 inch spring pin, you drill the size of the spring pin itself. If you were to measure this pin right now, it would be a little bigger than 3/16. The 3/16 is its diameter once it's squeezed into position. So if you're installing a 3/16, you would drill a 3/16. And a spring pin will have one end that is tapered just a little bit. That of course is the end that you start. Alright, we got one more thing I'm going to do to this off camera before I install it on the trailer, and that's give it a coat of paint. And just like you came back in a hurry a minute ago, this paint I'm going to allow to dry overnight, but you'll be back in just a minute. Okay, our handle's got a coat of paint. It's not an exact match, but the Cub Cadet yellow was as close paint as I had to matching the Gorilla Lift. So let's get it installed on the trailer now. Alright, so there it is installed. It'll store up here like this. Let's release the locks on the gate. And we'll see how it works. No bending over whatsoever. The handle will, while the gate's down, will just lean back on the cable. And for now, I got just a little small bungee cord. I'll look at some different storage options for that because I don't expect this bungee cord to last long out in the sun. But there it is. There's the handle added to the Gorilla Lift, or to the trailer to work with the Gorilla Lift. While you may not ever have a need to build such a device, a handle, maybe the techniques used in attaching the sleeve to the handle and making the end caps, maybe those techniques will be a little use to you. Hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you on the next one.